of the United States, Biden says if you take the shot, you won't get the disease and you won't spread it and you won't give it to grandma. That was a lie, or that was inaccurate. I could talk about it on Facebook. I could talk about it on Twitter. But I could talk about guys like Rob and Mike and the 50 other guys I can mention off the top of my tongue. And that was the invaluableness of this app at the time. And today, you want to have a topic, you want to control it like JB does, the app is perfect. The rooms are great. JB's never asked me for a penny. I love his rooms.
Thank you. I didn't know you were doing 30 million a year, so I might have not kidded Eddie. But God bless and good for you. But I just got to give some flowers because, people say, oh, you're such a good man and blah, blah, blah. Man, listen, none of this is possible without Mojo. Mojo definitely empowered me. He's my friend in real life. And we can't cultivate some good relationships. I always say, pick your tribe, don't let your tribe pick you. And don't fall for the cute words that people say to get you in their circle. But man, let me tell you something. What you people don't know, because everybody internalizes everything that's said on this app. Mojo's the real deal. Not just on this app, but in real life. This is my friend. And we disagree on so many. Don't even get me started on gun rights, because that'll just blow the room up. But let me say good morning to David. Good morning, David.
Morning. I was listening earlier, and two things. I'm really glad Normo and maybe Andy mentioned, some of the things that were great. And I think we need to go back to that. But really, when I was in the audience, you hit on it. It's moderation. We still go in rooms that are well moderated, and we have enjoyable times, and that's what it comes down to. I think too many people here are allowed to troll. Not that they're bad people, but to troll for their own sport. I mean, that's how they get their jollies, and that can get tiresome really quick. But it occurred to me after the last two speakers were talking, we should also do a room with, what was great about Clubhouse, because it brought back a lot of memories. I mentioned your October 7th room, what I've learned here. I came here just because I bought a car and I found a community and people I've made friends with and have meaningful relationships with on a daily basis. I would never have found that without Clubhouse.
I agree, Dave.
Hey.
Hold on. Wait, who had Mike? Who got Mike and then Shay?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea to talk about the great things, because it was. But I'm going to talk about the tough thing. It wasn't just trolls that were out there. We always had trolls coming in. We had people we would set up, basically an infrastructure to manage that. But we had people that were most likely paid, and now probably came from USAID, to come in and detract, disengage, to knock us off our goal and destabilize the room and eventually try to burn it to the ground. There were some serious actors that were involved, and some were exposed. UN subgroups, and they were typically doctors. It took a lot of interns in the first year.
Mike, don't eat
turn them loose up. Yeah.
Mike, don't mute up. Let me just say this. They're still here. By the way, Aaron Berger, Aaron, these people are still here. They're paid to come in and disrupt the rules. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, but I also believe there were agencies involved. I'll just leave it at that, as well as because they did not want, as much as I'm gratefully appreciative to the owner of this app for allowing us to do what we did. The agencies may have treated it as a honeypot as well, to get a pulse, because there was no other app that would tolerate what we were doing. So, but it was
concern about what happened to Facebook, but Clubhouse is fantastic. It's a great place to convene. You know, I think all of us grow as people on here because we get so much feedback about each other. I mean, where else do you get feedback? Blatant criticism. I think it's a great app.
Thank you, Jordan. David,
Dr. Jordan. I haven't seen him in a couple of years. Holy cow, brother.
Good. How are you?
yeah, Jordan's definitely an OG on the set, but David, you wanted to jump in?
Just real quick, I think even when some of the rooms got tedious and, we had like 3 months of what I call 3 months of Kanye here, and I never imagined, I guess I don't want to go back to it, but how much not baggage, but hurt people carry and don't let go of, and also hold on to things that may or may not be true. And after a few hours and after the largest voices went away, the people who stayed could really talk and learn from each other, and those were valuable nights.
I think there's still large voice. I'm sorry, Shay, I skipped over you. My problems. I'm going to come to you in a second. One of the things I don't understand is I'm literally down the center when it comes to politics. I believe I am. Other people disagree with that assessment. But how people get so personal over somebody's political party. Like, I don't even fuck if you're Republican. I can care less if you're a Democrat. But we pick our politicians like we pick our sports teams. Go ahead, Shay.
Hey, you know what, Jimmy? You just said something that reminded me of something I used to say over in the preservation. All of our differences won't make a difference when the people who are coming against all of our different differences have us lined up with different numbers on the same colored jumpsuit. So at the end of the day, we have to put those differences aside in order to make a difference in the world that we like to call home. Which leads me to this. What made Clubhouse great was the communities that we were able to build up. Sitting in the community with Mike and Rob and some of the other folks who aren't here right now over in the preservation, about in real life, doing my real life thing with my real life family, on the occasion, people would hear my voice and they would approach me. And they're like, I know you. And I'm looking at them like, no, you don't. I'm like, I follow you on Instagram, but I heard you on Clubhouse. You won't believe the things that you said that helped me and my family do ... Whether it was helping them make the informed decision for themselves, whether to take the jab or not take the jab, if they chose not to take the jab, helping them get the paperwork necessary that they needed to secure their employment, whether it was popping in to one of these survival sustainable rooms, understanding what a bug out bag is, what you should put in, what you shouldn't put into it, or more so specifically narrow down to my niche. Homesteading and gardening. Shay, you helped me get my garden started, blah, blah, blah. So we've all made, can't say we all, but I would hope to say a good chunk of us have made a impactful difference in society by way of having the opportunity to hold a green bean or, have an opportunity to have the mic and say what we need to say. Some of us have really actually touched lives to some of the people out here in the goo. And to me, that's what made Clubhouse great. I helped somebody else improve their life by way of Clubhouse.
Oh, I love that shit, because I say it all the time. I hate the word influencer. We're all influencers. You could say something that could resonate with somebody in the chat that you have no idea that you resonated with them. You could change people's lives. I know I have. I know other people should have.
Did I
Kristen, yeah, Kristen.
Yeah. So I just remembered. Do y'all remember those humans that were trying to get so many followers that did MLMs and were like, and this just reminded me of it. We want to help. I'm not talking about you, Shane. I'm talking about people who are no longer on here. We're trying to get like over 20,000. Yeah, we get 20,000 followers because they did some stupid MLM thing. They had some money in it. Good God. Not that it killed Clubhouse, but it was like that was. Ugh.
Yeah, no, that definitely did kill Clubhouse. Follow me, follow your moderators, No, one thing that I said when I was, top left, don't follow me. Follow everybody else in the space. Follow the people that you want to resonate with. Because if you follow
get back, Mojo. Before I go to First Lady, Mojo, CEO, wanted to have a dialogue with you. CEO, are you there?
I am, yeah. So,
You want to have that?
yeah, so Roger, in response to you saying America's the least racist country, I agree with you, but I think it's also the most racist country. So, it's racist and intolerant simultaneously. It's racist and intolerant simultaneously. I'll tell you why. It's the most racist, the most tolerant. Here's why. There's no other country on the earth that can have the amount of diversity America does without completely imploding. So that's where I agree with you. It's the most racist for the same reason, in the sense that when 40% of your population is different than the main population, that creates a lot of tension, a lot of privacy reasons. Some people just don't like sharing anything that's going to allow you to connect them to who they are off of the app.
Plus, it's not very good
Plus,
fun.
I just say private.
Yeah,
But you don't want to fundraise on Clubhouse, though. You don't want to fundraise on Clubhouse.
Well, no, but she brought it up. If she wanted the privacy about it, why did she? See, this is.
She didn't name it, though, right? She didn't name the number.
No, she's like, I'm out there doing work. I'm doing this, and I'm like, oh yeah, show me. And no, can't do that. Listen,
Yeah.
I honestly, I think women like that make these fucking asinine claims. I guarantee that bitch is on a couch eating Doritos with crumbs all over her exaggerating about what happened. Call me out on that. And if I was telling it 100% how it happened, go ahead and indicate that too. Keep me honest.
All right. Mr. Speak. Well, let me just say this. Second time, what makes Clubhouse great? Marshall Rankin makes this Clubhouse great. Marshall's one of the most underappreciated people on this app. And he always brings knowledge, respect, and courtesy. Man, Marshall, I can't even tell you how much I appreciate you. I had a personal issue in real life, and I reached
destiny, the debate that goes along. It got pretty big, you know.
Well, I'll walk into the history of it. So, a couple of days ago, Lou Fax, who I think is one of the best moderators this app has ever had, ran a room talking about, Clubhouse reunion, and so people returned to it. And then grifter ass Jonathan Bing, who's never had an original thought in his fucking entire life, ran a room in Debate the News. And I'm not personally attacking him, other than just this observations of truth and statements of facts are not like a problem. And so Jonathan Bing's just a big no talent that has, that tries to draft off other people's momentum. He did that for years with Jerry Malcolm. Then he did it with Nelson, and then even he'll draft off the momentum of what Lou does. And so he started a room saying, Clubhouse reunion, you people are the ones that ruined it. Well, talking about ruining, Jonathan Bing single-handedly ruined Chatter. And so there's kind of been a theme that's gone on. Yesterday there was a room, on a similar topic after Biggs, and now we're doing this. I think we're going to talk this thing to death, but I'm in the camp that Clubhouse isn't necessarily dead. It's just irrelevant. It's just past its prime. It's kind of like, when an NFL player retires, they struggle to find relevance. Like one or two of them will get broadcasting gigs, a few more might go into coaching. But for the most part, people just go home and they're no longer an athlete and they just get fat
would say moving forward, as moderators, I would submit, don't try to optimize for size of the room. Try to optimize for the quality of.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, man.
I thank you. I appreciate it, Ant. To be honest with you, I feel like you shouldn't have more than three moderators in a room at a time. I think it creates a culture of bullying, and it really deters from the conversation. The more moderators you have in the room, I think when I think about anything that I've ever seen in real life where there was a moderator involved, like a presidential debate or some type of debate, you never see 8 or 9 moderators in anything in real life. It just doesn't make sense to me why you would have 9 people on stage that are moderate, and it takes away from the good conversation that could be had if you weren't playing personality games.
Well, Jamal, you're making a good point. There was rooms on this app, and I don't need to call them out by name, but you guys would know, where their shtick was like, we'll mod everybody, and then by handing out these participation trophies as a social currency, the people would then, they would be more likely to ping people because it's like, oh, look at me, I'm in a big room and I've got the green bean. And I will say, I've kind of reverted back to because I just don't care about the size of the room anymore. I'll mod people because I like them. That's not the best way to do it. I will say that the highest quality rooms ever that I personally ran, and I'm not saying that I run the highest quality of rooms. The people that I admire would be people like Ned, if you guys remember him. I thought his rooms were amazing. I think Lou Fax's rooms are amazing. But I personally, when I would run my best rooms, is when I was a solo mod. That way, if somebody got moved down, they knew that I did it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is a key point of having but then there's another piece to it that makes a room good, and that is a moderator kind of pulling his hands and letting conversation flow. A lot of times when you have the 1 or 2 moderators and they're micromanaging the conversation, that fucks up conversation too. I think there is another good mod who I kind of found it very interesting how he monetized Clubhouse, and that is DeHome. I think that young guy understood the monetization of it, and I thought that was very interesting. The way that he kind of, I think he said he got it from Dr. I forget his name, but yeah, I think that.
I got a different opinion on the monetization. Look, I'm a capitalist, and if you want to make your money that way, that's fine. But I would also argue that, trying to make money off the broke asses that are sitting around on Clubhouse is probably not the best strategy in life. I would say that utilize this for entertainment. If you do find a way to make money on it, that's cool. If that's your thing. For me, I think it's gay as fuck if somebody's got a Cash App in their bio. I think it's gay as fuck if they think that you need to tip them for being there. Look, if you don't want to participate in the conversation, like the idea, the audacity of people thinking that opening a room makes them a content creator. This app doesn't have content creators. We have facilitators of conversation.
But when you are able to leverage the thought of people not liking another person on stage, that I thought was genius. Well, whereas I don't like you, and because I don't like Anthony, I'll pay $10 just so he won't be on the stage with me. That was genius. And I think that part of it, I really haven't seen anybody really monetize it like that. And, I thought that was pretty interesting. So, that's all I have to say about it. But I don't mind where we're at right now with Clubhouse. I think that the conversations and the people's mindset needs to kind of expand a little bit. I'll land it right there.
I think landing a plane is the best part of Clubhouse.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in on the title.
Was the person that came up with the saying, "You're in the Matrix," which yes, it's the most disingenuous. Look, people make some dumb claims, but that guy, like, if you have no value to add to a conversation, then you lie in your bio. And so
It's a case Shane came up with the goo. Or did somebody else come up with the goo?
yeah, the terms on this fucking app are hilarious. But we were talking about before you're in the Matrix in early days of Clubhouse. The saying was, and it came from the black rooms. They would say you're in the pipes. That was the saying that before you're in the Matrix. However, you're in the Matrix took off is pretty cool. But when you're in the Matrix became popular, Mark Days wasn't even on this app. Like, that guy's just he's just a complete liar. And if you want to talk about frauds, I don't know if you guys remember a guy by the name of Travis Believes. Travis Believes was one of the dumbest, fucking fakest people ever on this app. In his bio, it said, "Do you want 250,000 social media followers? Click here, blah, 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 blah." So I started clicking around. I went to all of his social media accounts. Combined, he didn't have even 50,000 followers. This guy's going to help you get 250,000, but he doesn't even have 50. That was the fakest fucking dude ever on this app.
That's funny. The other thing is all of us here that ran rooms and let people on stage saved countless lives because we were able to identify a smoke detector that needed a battery replacement. So I feel really, really good. That made me feel like I did something positive.
Can I just give 3 quick anecdotes about my experience with Clubhouse?
Please do.
One is that I think I am the most kicked person of all time in Clubhouse history. I've been kicked from more rooms than anybody else. 2, I've had more Clubhouse accounts, profiles, than anybody else on this app. And 3, I think the anonymous feature on this app, I could have played a big role, or I did play a big role in the developers and the managers, because they probably have received hundreds, if not thousands, of complaints with regards to my activity on this app, listening and recording people making really asinine, stupid, low IQ comments, not based on intelligence or science, but purely based on horrific political positions and propaganda distribution. So, if
Hey, American Party, how many accounts do you think I was responsible for having removed from the app of yours?
maybe like 3, 4, 5, something like that.
I remember you had a big one that you had changed to my Roger Mayhem name, and I remember the day that got clipped. That had to be a little upsetting because that was the one that you had the most followers on.
At the moment, it's upsetting because it's frustrating, but it's also a great lesson in letting go, because you realize and you question what you're doing on this app. Why am I listening so much, and why am I speaking so much? And what can I do differently to optimize my life? So, but honestly, it is a fantastic app, and with Microsoft reaching a new $4 trillion market cap, Meta at such a high market cap now, highest in human history. Like, there's a good chance that this silly little app will get, gobbled up in an acquisition. But the people gobbling it probably have no idea just how rotten it is to the core.
Do you guys remember the $4 billion valuation that they had in mid 2021?
Yeah, they stupid. They thought they were gonna get more of Senator Tuck.
Well, they never got an offer. Getting a valuation doesn't mean you got an offer. So, well, I think people mistakenly said that because there was a valuation that somehow that equates to an offer. And by the way, that valuation was made by a worker at Andreessen Horowitz, which was one of the early investors in this. It very well could have been them just putting a valuation on this to draw attention to it, and with no real assessment of the value at all. Because if that would have came from an independent third-party source, I would have said like, wow, $4 billion, that's amazing. How do you calculate that? But because it came from Andreessen Horowitz, who led the financial investing of this app, I think you do have to kind of take that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Momo says the data on that eval is based on Clubhouse with celebrities on Clubhouse still. I think that would have led, if they would have looked at the celebrity experience on here, that would have led to a very low valuation. Because when the celebrities were on here, they didn't fare very well. I mean, go ask Kevin Hart how he feels about Clubhouse.
Kevin Hart never really cool with Clubhouse. Are you kidding? That is hilarious. That's like the funniest thing I've heard all day.
When a comedian gets packed up by normies that are just in a room shooting the shit, that's when you realize the power of Clubhouse. These rooms right here, it democratizes, your ability to join a conversation. Comedians, when they're on a stage and the light is on them and they have the microphone, they're really good at handling hecklers. But when they don't have the microphone exclusively and they don't have the light shined on them exclusively, all of a sudden they become very human. And it's amazing that the people in a room, of average or below average intelligence, ripped that guy to shreds, and he's never come back.
I have some Amber Rose recordings that did pretty well from this app, and if you listen to what Amber Rose says, not only is it insanely stupid, but it's racist and it's funny. But the Amber Rose recordings that I have and the shit that she would say was like cringe and incredibly stupid, but still fun nonetheless. And then, sure enough, you see her in the Trump election campaign with her big forehead tattoo, and Amber Rose is endorsing Trump. It's a small world.
Do you guys remember Taylor Lorenz? Anybody remember when Taylor was on this app? No. Okay, so Taylor Lorenz wrote, and I'll pin the article. It was in the New York Times. That this tiny app, is dangerous because it has unfettered conversations. That led to the creation of one of the better houses that this app's ever had, called Unfettered. And imagine complaining and writing an article that it's dangerous to allow people to have an unfettered conversation. Think about what that implies. It's just amazing. I'll post the article so you guys can check it out.
Yeah, please do. Well, I mean, I was called matchmaker amongst others that I know because of, we would do days and days and days of just advocacy for writing exemptions to the magazine. You would provide them with the verbiage, everything they needed, affidavits to require their employers to sign.
we have issues? I think everybody's got issues. When you've got as many people in, in countries, you're going to have issues that you've got. I think the main thing is that our ability to have open speech is something that we just don't understand that in other countries it's not always there. Having traveled to other countries, including ones that are very locked down, people want to talk, and you'll find that the majority of people outside of the controlling entities in that country want the same thing we want. Everybody wants the same thing. I mean, they want to just be able to live their life, have their children grow up healthy and happy, and have a path forward for success. It's amazing when you see that. But when you come to the U.S. and you find, there's this discord. Well, the discord's there because we can talk openly. And you look at some of the discord nowadays, it can be very minor stuff that creates the discord. Where I think you need long term. I think we're in such a great position that we're now arguing over smaller things and not do people or should people be allowed to be in shackles, right? I mean, we're beyond, I think, some of those now. Does some of that still occur, especially when we're talking about things that with the kid networks and things that we've gone after? Totally understand that. But we're now open enough that I think enough people are trying to resolve those problems that I don't think you're going to see as much of the 50-50 divide. I think the divides are a lot less minor. I don't know if I ramble too much or if that makes sense.
No, I think we're more divided than ever because of social media and government feeds divisiveness. But what you said is so important. There's no First Amendment in Canada. I mean, podcasters and people broadcasting have been taken down by misgendering someone. And we forget what we have.
Well, then people getting
Hold on, real quick, Rob, real quick. The term misgendering somebody, like calling them by the gender in which they were born, is now a crime, and then we call that misgendering. Rob, go ahead.
I was just going to say, look at the people in the UK. They put something up that the UK, the social media police don't like. They'll come and arrest you now. And it could be something as simple as, I don't agree with the vaccines. I think the vaccines are dangerous. Boom, they can come and take you and put you in jail.
Well, doctors were silenced, during COVID too. The ones that didn't agree.
Well, if you bring up COVID-19 vaccine as a conspiracy theory or anything controversial or critical of it, you are labeled a conspiracy theorist immediately by everybody on this app still. So to me, that is extremely frustrating.
You couldn't say that on Facebook.
So if I'm a YouTube publisher and I had to undergo medical misinformation policy training. Not only do they inform you about the COVID-19 vaccines, but they press you on Plan B. You're not allowed to talk about mifepristone.
I love Italy. Fuck America.
Anyways, my point is the merger between big tech and platforms and big pharma, big medicine, big insurance. It's there. You can't be critical of medical information, but the fact is that Fauci, Bill Gates, and a dozen other people, I mean, they are really complicit, in my opinion, in pushing out bad science, fake news, misinformation, and has created disastrous health outcomes for millions and millions of people.
What pisses me off when we start to go back and look at the pandemic, what really truly pisses me off to the extent, and I'm guilty of it, so everybody in this room, everybody in the United States is guilty of it, and pretty much around the globe, if you're going to cite your moral, stance there. The fact that we allow the United States government to infringe on your religious freedoms. Many of you belong to a faith. Many of you are very religious. taking the vaccine if you were a government employee, not through religious reasons, not for any reason. They fired so many competent people, and even if they were willing to take a test every week to prove they were healthy, there was no way that they could make the government happy. And one woman who was an excellent employee, who trained others, who worked 60, 70 hours a week on 911 call board, finally, I mean, she was a single mother. She lost her job because she wouldn't take the vaccine. She had to move out of state. And she won a major lawsuit because of that here, and there's more coming.
So it's like at prime case in point, we lost, one person was killed on the day of Jan 6 on the quote, the revolution, the domestic terrorist that people want to highlight. Her name was Ashley Babbitt. She was a veteran. She served this country honorably. She had a pool business. She was struggling, but she was succeeding prior to the pandemic. Then COVID shut down her ability to have her personal business. She lost money. She was struggling financially. She was having to be dependent on family members, and they were trying to bridge the gap. She didn't have everything afforded. VA services were cut for her. So this meant she couldn't go to appointments at regular because, fuck it, if you had any other condition outside of COVID, don't call your fucking doctor because he wasn't going to answer because there was enough money coming from the federal government to offset all that shit, and they shut down all the care there. And then she goes and gets shot at the Capitol building, and people to this day will still vilify her and say that she deserved what she got when she went there to protest, mainly because she wanted Trump to end the pandemic. She thought Trump would be the best chance because Biden and his campaign said, we're going to continue these measures until we've eradicated the pandemic, until we've destroyed this disease. And she financially couldn't take it. And she became a strong supporter of Trump, whether right or wrong or whether you believe in it. But she was the one that was killed. It wasn't the officers. Not a single fucking officer died that day as a result of that. Some did receive injuries, not discounting that. But at the end of the day, only one person was killed, and her name was Ashley Babbitt. And to this day, that woman still is not afforded any kind of remembrance. She is still vilified, and people just dusted her off, even though she was the one that died. I'm not saying she's a hero, but at least she deserved to be recognized that she was a direct result of what this government's policies were at that time. And what we failed to recognize is that we as a nation killed her. We allowed that to happen to one of our Americans to the point where she felt she had no choice but to go protest at that place. And to be further frank, she wasn't even the one trying to actually do any harm to the officers. She was actually there trying to help. She was trying to block things. That's what many of the people around her stated. And we never even held the Capitol Police who fired the shot, the only shot fired that day. The only guy to discharge his weapon. Nothing happened. He was held as a hero. He was extolled. He was given fucking money. And we still to this day will not acknowledge that. And we face accountability as Americans. We let our kids down because we allowed the government to be able to seize that power. And if you think they won't in the future, they will again.
I emphasize again, it is free to join my community. The stocks I share are also free. The techniques and strategies.
We were afraid that day.
I had a question. Basically, I don't feel like telling my story again because I did so many times in the past. Probably because then I had lethalist, is that a word? Most lethal shot. McCullough figured out. I didn't report because I found out that as soon as you do that in the Bayers, the government can go in and they go into your medical records. Not that I don't care, I don't want that. And then there's plenty of other people doing it. And all mine were legit. It happened one day, months and months out, because the more fit you were, the longer it took to set in. And then they figured this out with like sisters and twins and stuff. And then the less, like, like there was another person growing on me, and I didn't have a head because you couldn't lift it. And I went to my PCP, and
What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm trying to say, ask American if that is still in the chat that he put. The coronavirus aid relief economics, is that still going for people that have legitimate illnesses from the poison put in them? That's what I'm talking. I did it for a job.
I don't know what the fuck's happening here. Hakima, what happened?
I just heard another word. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Ooga. That's all I heard.
Alright, we're gonna do an interesting thought experiment here. I am gonna do something I would never normally do. Let's see, we're gonna mod Alyssa because she sounds completely sane. And we'll go ahead and do something I don't think I've ever done. We're gonna go ahead and mod American Party. Alright, let's see where that goes.
In the
I'd say hello to Mr. Roger and also say hello to Mr. Bragg. But I would never share the things that I've heard people talk about you. I respect you. Thank you for your service, and also thank you for acknowledging Ashley about it. I really think that, like you said, we as Americans sometimes do not realize how we redress our government is extremely important. I call it a redress. We don't know what it looks like because most of us never experienced it. And J6 was us redressing the government. And unfortunately, because we have commies in government, domestic terrorists in government, they have taken over and done a very good job of brainwashing our children and the American people for the last 40 years. So that's one of the reasons why they got away with what they got away with. You got people who are complicit. They don't know what self-government is, but they sure do know what government is. And everything government's touched, Brad, and you know this, they have ruined it. Roger said this the other day. If you think the government's there for you, think again. The government's our problem, guys. The bigger the government,
You know the thing that's true, government doesn't solve problems, it subsidizes them.
exactly, Roger. And remember this, everyone. The bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. The bigger the citizen, the smaller the government. Take back your own personal self-government and stop allowing people within your world who do not live in your home to control your life. Thanks, Brad, again, for saluting the only person that actually died on behalf of the American people, Ashley Babbitt.
Yeah, let's not forget Michael Bird, the murderer who decided to blow her fucking head off as she was trying to, it's total murder. I don't know if anybody here has seen the video, but, police seem to get immunity and there's no accountability, especially this guy. I posted the link to his interview, where he described how terrified he was. And if anybody saw the video, you'll know that this guy is an abominable human being.
Hey, Roger, what made or makes Clubhouse great? People like you, people like Brad, people who come and just share who they are as individuals. If I met you guys in person, I would respect you guys just for being whatever principle
if you heard last night, but we got an interesting discussion from Bima, who is an anarchist, but she failed to really describe what her new government and new, simulation or situation would look like. So when you say we need limited government, and the bigger the person, the smaller the government, or the larger the we the people, the smaller the government, which is acting as a parasite, and we are the host. I mean, we want to diminish the size of this parasitic infection, which is sucking we the people dry. So, Edward, if you were, the president or the king of America, what would you do for we the people?
First, I would tell the we the people that they're responsible for the outcome of their own lives. And obviously, if we go back to community, I would let them know that whatever they need in their local community, what they need locally, they have the ability to elect their local officials that represent them, and they can hold them accountable. Accountability is important, guys, and I don't know what's happened in the United States. We hold 0 people accountable. Here in California, they let you, well, thank God we passed Assembly Bill 36, where you can no longer just walk in the store and take up to $995, and they call it a misdemeanor. They don't realize these people who own these supermarkets and these stores actually are business owners. They're trying to take care of their own family, and any form of shrinkage hurts them. But we got smash and grab and young people out here because it's just no boundaries, no boundaries. So it's pretty sad. So as king of my own life, as king of my own world, I would tell people, be responsible for your own behavior. And if someone in America wants to reach out and help you when you make a morally bad decision, or you fall, or you lose your job, let's do that locally. Let's help each other locally. And let's get the government out of our pocket. That's my thought there, America.
And also, you have more power as an individual than you actually think. I mean, it takes one clot to cause a heart attack, just one little anomaly. And it takes time and it takes a lot of effort. It's like having a second job, but it can be done.
American, do you have a reference where we can go back and listen to Bima's defense of anarchy? Is that living somewhere on the interwebs? Maybe YouTube?
Yeah, I've live streamed that. Oh, it's on my YouTube's.
Okay, I'm gonna go find that. I'm gonna go find that and edit it down to her lecture on anarchy. It's amazing.
See, the problem.
Americans are with that guy.
I was going to say the problem with people trying to describe a new government or a new arrangement or situation, it's just somebody using their imagination and making fantastical ideas. It's just not based in reality. So, to me, enlightenment or being in the now and being in, I guess, the objective world versus the subjective world or the material world is the real world. And unfortunately, because our brains are so powerful, when we have communication and conversation, people waste a lot of time on using their brain in a way which is not really making an impact whatsoever. So it's a little bit like what our government does. The IRS, has 800 plus offices around this country. These are shakedown offices for the American people. These are not innovation centers or incubators or entrepreneurial education facilities. These are shakedown offices. These are parasitic facilities that shake down 18-year-old female Uber drivers. They have no money. These are shakedown facilities. So what I'm trying to say is that we, the American people, have to wake up and recognize a parasite when you can properly identify it and know it doesn't do any good for us. We have to reject it and diagnose it and treat it. And the best way to do that is really personal responsibility, but being social and being political. And this app, with regards to COVID-19, was just that. This was a response room, or this was a response platform to the mass vaccination and destruction of our genetic material and threatening us with loss of life. I worked at the Treasury Department. I was repeatedly warned, if you don't get vaxxed, your position and your livelihood will be terminated. I would love to see those people held accountable for threatening me with loss of livelihood. But I resisted, and I wrote a religious exemption letter, and eventually, Trump was able to push it out, but not till much later. So the medical tyranny that we have lived in is a censorship tyranny. It is a platform, deplatforming tyranny. You, as an American, your rights to freedom of speech were absolutely and completely restricted. The censorship of your thoughts and your voice, that means you can't even have the thought if you can't have the voice. So it is slavery. It's not liberty. It's not freedom we've been living under. And I thank God Donald Trump won.
Keep going. I was gonna say it's gonna be more and more censored, where they can find you on your phone. They can find you through just any sort of EMF device anywhere that's on you. And I could write them down by half of them, and they're the largest corporations that are already working under this tyranny. This company, I won't say, CBS, Target, Apple, NBC, Shell, and McDonald's, and just say, I know that they aren't going to be happy. They won't be happy if they find people that are against their plan. But they don't go to say what they'll do to them.
I mean, private businesses can't do much other than not give you the goods, or you use their marketing to say bad shit about you. The thing people will end up needing to do is classically American. They will need to sue for their rights, and the best way to probably do that would be to recruit somebody who could pay to fund the lawsuit. Technically, it's called lawsuit shopping, but that's how you get the questions answered. You put them before the court, and the court either goes, yeah, you're right about that, or no, you're totally bullshit about that.
Marshall, the only politicians have told me the only people they're afraid of is lawyers. You're right.
I've had politicians tell me they were afraid of other stuff, but I mean, more like, I feel your point.
I don't think you can put down a genuine statement. I'm more weird than I already are. Because
Trust me,
it's
you're
remote.
among friends. I am weird too.
Let me have a little fun here. It's gonna get worse, guys.
Oh.
Especially when they're hyping up this celestial body that's coming into our universe. It's gonna shadow on Mars in November. That's when it's gonna get interesting.
How does a solar body shooting by Mars affect us? Other than
So they've all Main Street, the stuff I don't follow is already hyped up. I swear that this thing that is moving is not an asteroid. It is some controlled thing. 7 kilometers wide. It doesn't look like an asteroid. And they're waiting to see what it gets around Mars. If it follows the orbital plane of Mars. I'm trying not to be too scientific because I'm not scientific. And
so people are speculating.
correct, so they're hyping up that it's hostile beings that are going to be.
Does it have a?
Have any of those people done a public information request for NASA star charts, which they're allowed to get?
Well, hold on. Right now, what they're saying, from what I'm reading, is that here's this thing that's heading this way, that's normal, but then there's this thing following it that they can't put their finger on. And so, how they're going to weaponize this, I don't know. But the closer
closer it gets, the better view we'll get of it, and the harder it's going to be for them to justify the scare tactics. That won't stop them from trying, though.
Is there a price tag on it? Is there a $37 trillion price tag on it? And is the trailing object the American people?
Better question, is there a relative of theirs that that live on it have already fallen and been found?
You know what would be wild is what if this was what the Hale Bopp people were waiting for, and they were just wrong about the timing?
There you go. Great point. It's just too convenient and too mainstream. What's going on? A Harvard professor says they're hostile. There's a good chance that they're hostile.
If you can't even see the damn thing, how do you know it's possible?
They can see it.
Yeah. I can see the
How
idea
does being
now.
how does being able to see an object make an object hostile?
I agree with you. The tail is not.
Astrophysicist.
The tail is forward facing, not rear looking every other comment or history.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that everything's hostile.
I know exactly. That's the whole thing.
Listen,
Types of
your local congressman, your local senator is more of a danger to your personal life and your future children's livelihood than an astral object in outer space. It's your senators and your congresspeople and the Federal Reserve that pose the biggest threat to your future liberty and your liberty right now.
American, your city council and your governor affects your life more on a daily basis than any of that shit.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, well, in the chat, I put links to the HEROES Act and the CARES Act. That was over $5.5 trillion in debt created by senators and congresspeople. What was the ROI on that? Do you ever hear a forensic accounting or a cost benefits analysis of former acts and all the trillions of dollars in spending? No, you just give it away. You give it to your lobbyist friends on K Street for Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, Google, every major corporation, Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, AstraZeneca, every single major corporation made out great, and you got a $1,200 stimulus check that they took back from you a couple of years later. So I again tell you, your local Congress and your local senator poses a bigger threat to your liberty and well-being now and in the future than an astral object, which is a clickbait fucking article, people. Wake the fuck up, my fellow Americans.
Yeah, what we spend a year is far more important than an asteroid that has a weird tail. Going to the moon's probably more important than worrying about an asteroid with a weird tail. Oh, and David's also right. Your mayor, city councilman, county commissioners, they affect your life much more on a daily basis than do the president, the Congress, or the Senate.
I don't know what to tell you, but your Congress and your senator creates the debt with the Federal Reserve, and your local governor or your local mayor, they are the parasites on the bigger parasites, the little fleas on the bigger fleas. So when you sit here and say, "Oh, it's just your local politics you need to be worried about," that's not true. It's your congressperson and your senator. That's what Marshall and you just said. Am I mistaken?
No, we didn't say solely. We were saying on a daily basis, the guy who changes the rules to run my business, the guy who makes the traffic laws, the guy who decides how my state runs and what new taxes they're going to enact, affect my life on a daily basis more than anything else. On a daily basis.
Yeah, man, it's a big non-controversial statement. Government closes the state.
Breaking up, Marshall.
The government you have the most effect on.
And when 25% of the people only vote in those elections, what do you expect? People need to take back their government, and they don't.
How
Hold
is
on
that
here.
I should be applauded for what I'm saying. Instead, I'm shut down every single time I bring up this issue or any other issue. Is it a me problem or is it a you problem?
So we all live in a video and in the now, and our life is a constant virtual slide.
It's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it.
Oh, it's how I'm saying it. You don't like
Yeah.
how I say it, but you enjoy what I'm saying. Got it. Thank you very little.
It's not what it's saying. You do have it.
Got it. Thank you very little.
And it is very valuable.
Who posted that?
So, yay, but you are also speaking in a condescending tone that is annoying after about 30 seconds.
I'm not worried about the constant tone or the level of government. My point and David's point is the government you can affect most is the one that's going to have the most effect on your life. Don't get me wrong, Edmund. Congress, in the passage of the big beautiful bill, they affected just about every state in the nation with their air traffic control system, for example, because they're going to update it. I'm not saying Congress can't affect you. I'm saying most people in their daily lives are far more likely to run into their local or state government rather than their federal government. Their federal government is more ethereal. It's more in the sky kind of thing. Your local government is very much in your face. So you are right in that you do need to contact your congressman and you do need to, try to get them back in on a leash. But you're wrong that the area where you have the most impact. But not the area where you have the most impact. The area you have the most impact is your school board and like local commissioner and local mayor races. That allows you in particular because the commission does things like set tax rates, right? Like that, like the tax rate the city raises is going to directly affect your bottom line.
So Marshall, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Mr. Edward. How are you?
This is the best day of my life. Thanks for asking. So could you give some practical, I like to know where every state, everyone currently is, and give some practical, you and David talked about the local area. What are some of the things that people can currently do right now in order to affect their local community? And how many of us are currently involved in our local government to any extent?
What I would say would be like one thing that you could do, and this is just the summer, so it'll be what it'll be. Sometimes take times off. Go home, super city commission meeting, go to a county commission meeting. You're gonna have school in the next month and a half or so in Texas. Go to your beginning school board meetings so you know what they're gonna be covering for the year. Get involved in organizations like the Rotary Club and Toastmasters that can plug you into civic service organizations. Those are things I would do. The Rotary Club, not explicitly political, it plugs you into civil service. And civil service is very important for affecting your government. You don't just want to be an activist about it, you want to be somebody that your local government people see. Somebody once said to me, why should the government care about you if you don't care about the government? And that means knowing what people's names are, knowing what their jobs are. You don't have to
Restart this lab.
memorize the script, but those things are generally good ideas to get involved.
And also,
Texas have a child because their plan is to continue over since 1902.
You have agencies in your local neighborhood. Look, it sounds stupid, but go to your former community council of your neighborhood. Allow any citizen who's genuine to come in there, voice their complaint. Now you have access to your city councilman. As a group, you have more of a voice than you would just writing a letter from your house. And you can find out what funds are available that can be directed to your neighborhood to solve problems, to build sidewalks, to correct whatever's going on in your neighborhood. And that way, on a small level, you're getting things done for people who need help locally. And then, in an election year in my city, when there's candidates and out for review, they allow public speaking.
get them on record. And newspapers, social media outlets, they need to publish stuff. You can call them with information. You can give them information in a way that they can write an article or an editorial and actually get your information out there. And I did all those things and we made changes.
A couple of other things that should go without
Well,
saying.
hold on real quick. Hold on real quick. Before you go to your Chamber of Commerce or your Rotary Club or a school board meeting, city council meeting, you should understand one thing. There's already a culture and a consensus amongst the people that go there regularly. If you show up on day one without a plan and you're just gonna show up and be the contrarian, you're not going to win anyone over. What I would argue, the best thing to do is to go ease in, meet the people. Don't tell them much about you in the beginning. Try to learn about them. And then go find your like-minded people that are not attending these, and you bring them with you. And then once you have, even if you had 3 people, you have 3 people that show up at these things. Now they can't bully you as easily because you have people that can co-sign for your shit. So when you start talking about things, if somebody says something, they present something that you just know is absolute horseshit, you can say, and don't just tell them, hey, that sounds like bullshit. What you can do is just go, yeah, I don't know if that's exactly true. Can you continue? And you let them continue. And then what you and your crew do is you look at each other confused, like, what is this person talking about? And then you slowly start winning over the crowd. And you figure out which people you'll never win over, and you find out the people that are just there to make friends, and those people you can win over just by being likable. If you go there and you take 2 personable friends with you, and you guys are the ones that are laughing and having a good time and talking about interesting shit, the people that don't really have strong opinions are going to gravitate to you, and then what you're talking about, you're going to be a bigger influence on them. If you show up alone, you're going to get chewed up, and I don't care who you are.
And you do need to do your homework.
Guys, what Roger just said, this is what we do in California, what I've done, and my wife and I continue to do. We have California Strong Patriots. We are part of the voter ID program here in California. We're also part of Project Accountability. We're part of 1826. It's called, right now in California, there's a bunch of people that get ready to turn 18. But the first time they get the right to vote is in 2026. We want them to vote red right now because we want to split California from blue to red. So these are the kind of things that we need to do. So everyone can get involved, but like Roger says, talk to someone locally who is, and listen to what he said, guys. Make sure you have a game plan because you have some people who have been on these boards for years. They love their power, they love their position, but more importantly, you can go there, and a lot of them are not computer literate. They don't know how to read all of the analysis of the voting things in their community, and you can come in and just help them. And that's what my wife and I have done. We help them with letters, make sure that the voting rolls are clean and everything else. Just whatever you can do to help them. Win friends, influence people to help you solve a lot of things in your local community. And that person, when they end up going to the state house, they'll bring what happens locally to the state house, and hopefully, when they get to DC, they're gonna have to locally to the Congress or to the Senate. So something that we're trying to change here.
I couldn't agree more. I think they're doing Roger have hit nails on the head. I just want to repeat something you shouldn't say. Don't ever get up in front of a group of people, school board, city council, and go, I pay your salary. Number one, it just comes off as kind of bratty. Number two, it doesn't help win anybody over. Number three, you're not the first person who has ever said that to them. And saying that makes it less likely that you'll win friends and influence people. As both
Absolutely,
Roger and-
Marshall. If you bring solutions, if you're going to criticize, you need to bring solutions. But I was talking to the mayor at one of those meetings, and he had gaslit the 2 people in front of me in line. And I looked at him, and I said, you know, you've been planning this with 4,000 hours of work and 20 of your people working on it, and you're telling us it's not going to happen. exactly where he was wrong. And he thought he could just win over the community, but we were organized. And we won.
Yeah, that's what organization and a solid work ethic will get you.
Well,
But it's like having a second job. I'm single. I could do this after work. I could call all these people. You know, I could imagine if I had a family and children. You know, who has time for that? And that's part of the problem.
well, David Marshall, let me ask you a question. Do you think spending $10 billion a day is sustainable? You know, if we're taxing $7 billion worth a day and we're borrowing $3 billion a day, I mean, do you think we could get by on spending, let's say, even $4 billion a day? What demands $7 trillion in annual spending? Why can't we get away with spending $4 trillion a year? Do we ever plan on paying back the debt, or are we just going to continually, slowly, and sometimes dramatically increase the debt?
Any third party who are committed to fiscal conservatism.
We do have we have Thomas Massey, we have Rand Paul. These are patriots. We have Chip Roy. We have many Republicans who are fiscal hawks and want to cut this borrowing and the spending.
Themselves over in ways that are unhelpful. Rand Paul is the reason we have CRs in the Congress. So this is going to sound inane and weird, but follow me. The Senate has a rule about how you get bills. You go to the well of the Senate at first, and most things are done by unanimous consent in the Senate. And so you ask for unanimous consent for your bill. Well, if it has anything to do with list making of any kind, it doesn't matter whether it's like a list of cities for federal resources to be devoted to. It doesn't matter if it's like a list of names to get awards. Rand Paul says, I oppose. So you then, per Jefferson's rules, have to go down to the well of the Senate, and you have to read the bill. And so the author of the bill reads the bill. It's then asked of the Senate to give unanimous consent. Rand Paul stands up again. No. Which means that they either figure out how to have a filibuster, or the bill, whatever it is dead on arrival. It's not going to get an up or down vote. It's not going to get a vote in committee. And what that does is force senators who are parochial, which you need to be parochial for your state. House members represent different districts in the state. Senators represent their states first. And what ends up happening...
Okay, I'm going to restart these lives.